The group got together to look at the boulder they needed to move. The thing must have been about 200 pounds, but there were three of them, and surely they could lift it. The more they thought about it, the more they realized they needed more people. Each person went off and gathered more people to come back and help them move the boulder. Now the group had 10 people in it, much larger than it was before. As the group began to try to lift the boulder, some members of the group could see that others were not trying to help and were just going through the motions. Some members just seemed to lose who they were and blended into the group, leaving their individuality behind. Others tried harder than we thought they might because the group was watching them. In the end, though, as they started to lift the boulder, the group was all thinking the same way and actually started to move the thing off the ground. What we have just experienced is the full range of group performance issues as they relate to group size. There are several dynamics in place when groups grow in size, and understanding those dynamics is important to working in, leading, or being part of a group. In the scenario we just went through, we covered almost all the dynamics that come into play when we discuss group size. For illustration purposes, we used a group that had grown in size, but the simple fact is these aspects are present in all groups. But what was experienced was social loafing. When some of the members of the group were not trying to help and just going through the motions, they were displaying social loafing, or the occurrence of individuals making less effort to achieve a task because they're in the group. Loss of individuality. Those members that blended into the group and left their individuality behind were displaying loss of individuality. When we have this dynamic at play, we see individuals lose self-awareness and thus their sense of accountability and responsibility for their individual behavior. Social facilitation. We had a few members of the group that tried harder when they knew the group was watching them and thus exhibited social facilitation. Polarization. Finally, as the group began to actually move the boulder, they became polarized, or that is to say, they strengthened the belief in their position that the boulder could be moved. They developed a strong resolve that the boulder could indeed be moved. The two aspects that were not a part of our scenario were groupthink and synergy. Groupthink is where the group begins to make poor decisions due to overall group pressure. Individuals think if everyone else thinks this is the right way to go, then I must be wrong in my thinking and will agree with them. Finally, we have synergy, which is the aspect of the team or group members working together in a harmonious fashion where the group's results are greater than the sum of its parts. The relationship between group size and performance is an interesting one. You see, as the group gets larger, the dynamics we spoke about earlier become more relevant simply due to the fact that there are more people in the group. For example, if there is a group of 4 people, issues like social loafing, polarization, and the rest are more easily visible. The communication within the group is much more intimate, and if someone does not pull their weight or limits the group's opportunity to polarize, these dynamics can be seen in a much clearer manner as the group is small. If you take a group of, say, 25 people, it's a little harder to recognize these aspects as the group is bigger, and we could have multiple people exhibiting the same dynamics, or polarization may not come to pass as the group is too big to obtain a consensus. All the same issues of the small group are present, but now they are spread out over more people with multiple people possibly exhibiting the same dynamics. That in and of itself changes the performance of the group, as now the group is not dealing with one person who has these issues, but multiple people and their impact on the group as a whole. Fragmentation of the group can begin to occur depending on the number of people that exhibit the dynamics we spoke about and what place they have in the group. Finally, their interaction with each other can inhibit performance, as now we might have more than one social loafer in the group, and it can become a contest, if you will, as to who should or can loaf the most. The dynamics at play in a group setting are indeed interesting. There are personalities and roles that are playing off of each other that directly impact how the group performs. As we add members to the group, the frequency of this interaction increases and begins to impact the group in more ways. In each group, we will almost always have social loafing, individuals making less effort to achieve a task because they are in a group. Loss of individuality. Members that blended into the group and left their individuality behind were displaying loss of individuality. Social facilitation. Those that try harder when they know the group was watching them. And polarization, the group's strengthened belief in their position. The key to understanding how to help your group perform better is to understand these roles and dynamics and deal with them as they arise.